So my dad always says, in the heats, race yourself.
Yep.
You are racing for the cleanest laps. Race yourself. In the main, go ahead and race.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't want to fight for that spot, or you don't want to give up that spot. And I was racing him. He was the person in front of me. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't going to let him by me. And he door dinged me on purpose. There's a YouTube video of it if you want the link to it.
Please. Yes. Send it to me.
I can send it to you. But he completely walled me and shoved me up the track and completely just pushed me out of the way. And he's like, dude, you were 3 laps down. Why were you racing me like that? I'm like, because you told me never to give anybody the spot.
Welcome to RC Underground Radio.
Yes, I realize I look like an idiot with this mustache, and I'm okay with it.
The ultimate podcast that covers everything RC.
You don't need to cut anything either. You can just call this the raw, uncut episode. We can leave it at that.
The raw. Yeah.
Are you drinking dollar store soda again? Quit spending your money on RC stuff. You can buy some name brand soda.
RC Underground Radio is your backstage pass to the RC industry. With insiders that are shaping the future of the hobby. The future of the hobby.
When we bring this guest on, I guarantee people are going to go, are you kidding me? He wrote a song.
I did.
We're going to have to end this soon, huh?
Yeah, no shit. And we're going to have to edit this.
So, here are your hosts, Dave Brinkman and Ryan Ratzloff.
All right, everybody. Welcome again to another fun night of RC Underground Radio. We got Ryan back in the house. Welcome, Ryan. We've got Delaney Hohn. She has taken the RC world by storm. She had a great run at RC Chili Bowl, but RC cars is not all she does. So let's get an opportunity to meet her. Delaney, welcome to the program.
Hi, guys. I'm super excited to share my stories and share my RC experience with you guys.
Well, we're excited to have you on. It's funny because, you go to a lot of RC tracks and it's just so dominated by us nerdy guys. And here you are out there and ultra competitive too. So I'm curious, Delaney, how did you get your start in RC?
I owe it all to my dad. My dad has been racing he was racing when I was little, and it was actually my sister that was his track ride along. So she would go every week to the track, and I'd always stay home with my mom, and I was always like, why can't I go to the track? But I was like 3 or 4 at the time. I was really little when my dad was going consistently to the racetrack, and they decided to stop racing for quite a while. And when my dad got back into it, he offered for my sister, who's a couple years older than me, to get back in it with him. And she's like, nah, she was in college at the time and too cool for that type of thing. Yeah. And he said, get me a car, I'll come. Like, that looks fun. I've always grown up with my dad going to, every time he would wrap a race car, we would go and I'd be running around the shop picking up all the scraps of the vinyl on the floor and throwing it away for him and helping him. And so when he offered to let me come RC car racing, it was like, hell yeah, I'm in. Where do I sign up for this? Like, what do I got to do? And 4 or 5 years later, I think this would be my 4th year racing. I now have 4 cars, looking to maybe get a 5th, and I absolutely love it.
So what was the first car you started with?
Technically, my first car is up there, but it was a Slash Street Stock.
Awesome.
So it's not within these ones. This is actually my dad's car that I'm racing. That's the Slash Street Stock that I'm racing now. Okay. I got my boyfriend into it, so he's racing my original car, and Dad got an extra Slash this year. So it was a bit of a horse trade of here, you take this one, I take this one, you take that one.
Yeah, you take the old one, you take the old worn out one, boyfriend, and I'm gonna get the new stuff that isn't all slopped out.
My boyfriend got the old one, I got the kind of old one, and then Dad got the used new one.
Used newish one?
Yeah,
right
newish.
on.
Yeah.
So where do you race locally then? What's your home track?
I race at Hobbytown Revolutionary Raceway in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So they race Fridays and Saturdays. We tend to race the Friday nights, except for if they have like a New Year's race or an end of the season race. We are usually down there. Well, we try to be down there every Friday night.
Awesome. And what divisions are you running there?
Currently, I race our street stock and our B-Mod.
B-Mod. I love me some B-Mod. I'd something about how big that car is, and it's just
I love it. I
around.
started racing it last year. I got a B-Mod and I built the car, which is this one here. I got a slash for the New Year's race. I won the slash in the raffle, and I was like, what am I going to do with this extra car? I'm not going to build another street stock. And so it was right at the end of the year when I finally got it built, raced it in one race, and was like, I have to now wait the entire year before I can race that again? Like, what? And so it sat on the shelf for almost the entire next year until next October rolled around, and started racing. I was like, hey, Dad, can I, I know I only raced one class at the Chili Bowl last year. Can I race two? Would that be crazy? Can I race B-Mod at the Chili Bowl? And he's like, yeah, but that car is way illegal for the Chili Bowl. So good luck building it back up when we get back. And that's how I ended up with the fourth car, because I didn't want to tear apart this car because it worked way too well for Oshkosh. And I was like, I can't. Yeah. It's got adjustable rear arms on it. The shocks are different. And so I was like, I'll just buy another car.
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of other RC car racers probably have that mentality of, but I really like this car at this track.
And I don't want to touch it. Yeah.
Right? So, then the second B-Mod was born, and now I've got 4 cars.
Goodness.
So
it's too many to keep track of.
Yeah, so I love it. The part I love is, you love racing cars, but you build cars, and that's super cool. I think to be a great racer in any kind of form of racing, right, you have to be one with the car. You got to be able to build the car. So when did you start building cars? From a very early age of doing this, like 4 years ago? Or is this just Dad used to build them and now you learned to build them, or you've just always had that passion to build?
I've always wanted to really understand what I'm doing. Bless my dad's heart. He is not the best teacher. He can do it, but he can't explain it. So a lot of us working together on our cars is a lot of us just yelling at each other. And a lot of my learning how to build on my cars is a lot of trial and error. And honestly, I attribute a lot of what I learned about how to work on my cars from working and meeting people at the Chili Bowl. The first year, I went down there with my B62 and was using Murph Dog all week to be like, what's wrong with my car? Why is it not working? I can't. And that year was a dud year. The first race I had a great race at was the main, and I've got a funny story to tell you about that main later.
Let's hear it. Well, okay, we'll do it later.
But I started learning a couple things, how to rebuild my shocks, how to do that stuff. And at the first Chili Bowl and the second Chili Bowl, it was okay. You should really be taking this stuff apart, looking at it over. And this year, my 4th year into racing is really when I started building my cars. My slash B-Mod, it was my dad got me my parts, showed me how to put it on the car, and I put it on the car. I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't know, putting the Proline shocks on it, this is what's going to help it. This is how it's going to help it. Adjust the adjustable rear arms. This is how having that kick in the right rear is going to really help it drive forward on the track or whatever. Like none of that was all over my head. I didn't understand any of that and why I was doing it, what it was doing to help the car. I still struggle with that, but it's because this year I've really started to learn my cars and learn it from more of the mechanic side than just grab the car and throw it on the track every week. My dad had knee surgery this year, so the first couple of weeks of racing, it was me going to the track by myself, and that was way out of my comfort zone. You know, I'm used to getting in the truck and heading up to Oshkosh, and my dad takes the stuff out of the truck and puts everything down. This stuff's heavy. I'm a tiny person. I can't carry it well. But this year I said, you know what? I know you can't go and I'm sorry, but I have the itch. I want to go. I want to race. I wanted to be consistent. I wanted to be competitive this year at the Chili Bowl. So I said, I'm going to go. Sorry, Dad. Can't wait. Rest up. Get better quick. I'll corner when you can get there. But I'm going to go. And I had some, what I like to call my track dads, helping me out at the track, telling me, hey, check your shocks. Hey, let me watch your race. Let me see what the car's doing, explaining what the car's doing, helping me out at the track, and me going, ooh, that adjustment did not work. Let's go the opposite direction. Yeah. And really learning it out and figuring out my cars. This year's Chili Bowl was a lot of tearing my cars apart, learning about what it was doing. You know, I have great guys that pitted with us this year that was really helping. Will Engel was one of them, John Baxter, even Justin Haley, our local featured NASCAR driver, that was pitted next to us, that was helping us out and taught me how to solder and do all this stuff because I had a motor wire come off, and he's like, come on, you don't know how to solder? Come on, let's go. That's like number one. Yeah. So, you know, I had all those guys helping me out, going, you know, you should know how to do this. Let's teach you how to do this. And, you know, I love my track dads. Sometimes their methods are a little harsh because I had to tear my diff apart 3 times, and they were all looking at me sideways like, why are you doing that for the 3rd time? It's like, because I put it together wrong and the tires aren't spinning. Something's wrong and I can't figure out what it is.
I've been there, done that. It's funny when you talk setup and all of that, because a lot like you, Delaney, I have a technical background. You know, I grew up as a mechanic. That's how I started my career. But knowing what changes do what to the, you know, adjusting this, like rear toe, like you were mentioning, right?
Yep.
And things of that nature. Toe in, toe out, rebound on shocks, different spring rates. I mean, there's so much to it. And I got to tell you, if you like to read Matt Murphy's chassis, I guess that's a no.
I've tried.
Read that chassis tuning guide. I promise you, like, honestly, just read it and you'll pick out parts and you'll be like, oh, I remember that, right? Like if I'm getting a push center off or what that component does, because I do that. And on top of it, I have the IQ of, well, less than the digits on my fingers here. And I can't remember squat. So that chassis tuning guide that Matt Murphy put out, Chassis Tuning 101, I just remember little pieces of it and I actually bring it to the track with me. And then I go to that section, you know, when I'm challenged with something, and it really, really helps me out. You know, you can get it on your phone and download it, but it's a fantastic guide helping you kind of walk through some of this stuff. Very in depth, and you can get lost in it, though. I will say that.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest thing is like going through it. It's like, okay, well, this is one way that I could fix the problem, but then this is another way that I could fix the problem. And is it because of my shocks? Is it because of my toe? Is it because of my ride height? This past week, you know, my slash mod was coming off the corners, and it wanted to just turn straight in. It wasn't going straight. I had to get the car straight, then get on the throttle. Yeah. And because I've been working on my own cars and I've been kind of riding solo this year a little bit, I'm starting to notice what my car's actually doing on the track versus just being like, hey, can you watch and see what's happening? Like, is it me? Is it the car? I don't know.
Yeah.
And now that I'm becoming a better driver and getting a little bit more consistent with my laps and hitting my marks, it's okay. So the car is doing something funny. So it's not just me struggling tonight. It's the car. And we checked ride height this last week. I learned how to check my ride height and adjust it and do all that stuff this week. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it was way too high. And I didn't know. that's just how I set up the car.
Yeah.
And it drives great again. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but I could have also changed it by adding a little bit of shock oil in there, changing the shock oil up, doing this, doing that. And
Right.
there's 10 different ways to do everything.
Here's a question I had for you, Delaney. Have you raced any other surfaces other than just dirt or carpet or any other forms of RC, or pretty much on the dirt?
Nope, just the dirt. So I've raced Oshkosh, Attitude, in Waupun, and the Chili Bowl. Those are pretty much the 3 tracks that I've raced.
And you're fortunate to have those tracks close by, right? Because, I mean, all of them are awesome. I mean, Attitude.
I mean, Tulsa is not quite close by, I'll say, but
yeah. But I'm saying like Attitude, Oshkosh. I mean, there's some really good racetracks that are right in your backyard. That's pretty cool. And then they somewhat help set you up for when you're going to go to Chili Bowl.
Yeah, Oshkosh is a pretty high. It was pretty high bite, or it was loose dirt, and now it's high bite. How's that go?
It's a little bit of both. It depends on the night.
Really? Okay.
This past week, I'd say it's a little bit more high bite. Sometimes it's super dry and track's really weird. And Oshkosh is kind of a flip-flop track. So that's something that I'm learning, is the difference between a high bite and a dry track, and how to tell the difference and how to set up your cars for each.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Attitude's safe to say that you can. It's always a dry, slick track for sure, right?
Yep.
But thank goodness for that banking out there. That helps us get around.
Right.
Right. So what's your plan for the summer? Like, of one of those, are you going to kind of hit them equally? Is Oshkosh going to be more your home track and then Attitude when you can? Or do you have a different idea of what your schedule is going to be this summer?
Oshkosh, so summer is usually my downtime for racing. Oshkosh stops racing about mid-April. And then they don't start back racing until beginning of October. So we usually right around Easter have our final race of the year, and then we don't start up racing again until Oshkosh. And right now it's kind of up in the air of where we're going to be at. As far as whether or not Oshkosh is going to be there, I really can't say much to that. I do plan on getting out to Attitude more often. I will admit I am a water girl. I do water sports. I wakeboard and surf during the summer, and we have an ice camper that I love going up to, and it's really, really hard to give up those weekends to go racing.
So tell us about the wakeboarding and all that.
Yeah,
what's going on there?
I'm a photographer. My mom's a photographer. She's been shooting photos for years. She had a senior that requested that she had her senior photos done with a wakeboard. And I was like, wow, a girl can wakeboard? That's so cool. Similar to the RC stuff. It's a very male-dominated sport. And she took us out on her boat. She gave me her board. I tried it and instantly hooked. Next thing you know, hey, Dad, can we get a wakeboard tower for our boat? And he's in the driveway putting a wakeboard tower on our Tahoe that's not really a ski boat. And a couple years later, I started getting really into it. I had multiple boards, was really enjoying it. My parents were like, let's take it up a notch and let's get a wake boat. So we have an Access T23 wake boat that throws a wake that if I'm standing, it comes up to about here on me, and I like surfing on it. And
Wow.
Yeah, it's fairly impressive. It's my favorite thing in the world. And so when I was 12, I started wakeboarding, and the last couple of years I haven't been competing, but I actually competed in wakeboarding for quite a few years. But the not being able to do it consistently and not having all year weather to do it was something that, I don't live in Florida, obviously.
Yeah.
So
tough to just, you can't go out every day and enjoy, your passion like that. We have very, very short summers here in Wisconsin.
Very short summers. And, I still get to do it once in a great while, but there was a couple of times my summer between my junior and senior year of high school, I actually gave myself a really bad concussion July 3rd. And I was just messing around, my parents and my boyfriend were on the boat with me, and I was like, can I go for a ride at sunset? It's beautiful. Take some pictures, it'll be great. And I got a little too cocky and I was doing what's called a board slide, but I was backwards. So I had the handle behind my back and I was putting pressure on my toes where my board is straight to the boat. It's kind of hard to like explain if you can envision me on a wakeboard. And rather than just spinning around to where I was comfortable, I tried completing the circle to do a 360, and I caught my heel side and slammed backwards at about 40 miles per hour into water, which is not a comfortable feeling. And I spent the rest of my summer before my senior year, so prime senior photo options. Sorry, Mom. With the concussion where I could barely open my eyes outside in the sun. So wow. I have kind of been hesitant to do any of the tricks or jumps or anything that I've done. Like I said, that was before my senior year of high school, and this past summer was the first year that I started doing any jumps or anything again because of that mental block that it kind of gives you when you get hurt on a board.
That's cool that you have other hobbies. But you got to tell me, I'm staring at these cars and you're talking about getting another one and all that. How do you afford all this stuff? What's your daytime gig? You mentioned you're a photographer, but let's expand on that just a little bit.
Yeah, so I own and run No Limits Graphics and Photography with my parents. So we're a graphics company out of Wisconsin. My dad has been doing it for 20 years. He started in 2003, shortly before I was born. And he's built the company from just doing cut vinyl to printed vinyl to shipping RC car wraps all over the world. And we are actually working on opening up our first storefront, hopefully middle of March. We're super, super excited about it. We've grown so much between the photography and the graphics. We get the opportunity to go to the Chili Bowl every year, and we're excited to go down to the Duel in a couple of weeks in March. And it's just, we get to meet so many great people through our business. And, I wouldn't do any other job than to be able to work with my parents and get to be artistic and get to design my own race car wraps. I get to go, hey, that would be a really cool idea for a car. I'm going to do it. Yeah. Rather than having to be like, hey, can you design this for me? I'm like, I can do that. And then it ends up 2 a.m. designing my own wraps the night before my showcase.
Well, you guys do some great work, and we all got to see that on display at Chili Bowl, and that's something certainly to be proud of. And it's funny. I actually for the first time formally introduced myself to your dad at Chili Bowl, and there was an incident at Attitude. I think it was last year. Somebody had gotten tangled up with your dad, and your dad was just struggling on track. Mm-hmm. And I was very impressed at the way your dad handled himself in that situation. I thought it was it was just well done. And I wanted him to know that. It was something that just stuck with me. It was kind of a cooler heads type prevail type thing. And he did really well at that. And so I actually borrowed a heat gun from him at Chili Bowl, and I was like, hey, by the way, really, really cool family. I mean, it's like all of you guys are involved in that business. Yeah. And everybody's all in. I mean, I see all the Facebook posts and stuff. It's crazy, and I know you guys do some stuff for the bigger cars too, right? Yep. Aaron Streblow, who owns Attitude Raceway, you guys keep him looking good every year, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. We do quite a few big cars every year. I actually just graduated in December with a degree in graphic design, a degree in photography, technical diplomas in photography, graphic design, and print technologies, as well as certificates, not only from here in the United States in photography, graphic design, and social media marketing, but over the summer I went to Scotland and I got a career in marketing and business technologies certificate while I was over there as well.
When did you find the time to wakeboard or race RC cars?
Folks, are you looking to have half of the enthusiasm Hunter Carey has up on the driver's stand? Or are you looking to look like me walking around the pits in my cool RC Underground Radio merch? Well, listen. I'm sorry to say that Carpies can't work miracles in those departments. But there's good news. The folks at Carpies can definitely help you become the ultimate toy car nerd. How do you ask? with their custom wraps and a killer collection of official RC branded merch. So while they can't promise to shave a tenth off your lap time, they can save you 10% on your next order with promo code RCU10 upon checkout at carpys.com. That's CARPYS.com.
Hey, Ryan, we got big news. Papa Willie's has asked if they could be a part of the RC Underground Radio.
It's good stuff. Like the smell.
Do you use it as a cologne? That's a question.
I don't wear it, but it gets on me.
I've looked at some of their social media. They really like to have fun.
It's good to promote his kindness as well. You know, he likes to have a lot of fun. You see it in all of his promotions, and we're certainly going to jump on that train. But, you know, when you're buying his product, know you're buying from a good guy who really supports this hobby and, you know, supports our mission, and that's to grow it and support racers and racetracks throughout the country.
For sure. So stay tuned, everybody. It's going to be a fun ride.
My goodness.
If you look back at my Facebook page, my Laney Driver page, you'll notice that I did take a bit of a hiatus over summer. I only rode my boards probably 2 or 3 times last year, and the majority of the summer was taking classes. I mean, I haven't stopped taking classes since I started college in fall of 2021. I'm still considered a full-time student. I graduated in December, and then I started actually the day we got back from Chili Bowl. I had my first day at Fox Valley Technical College here in Appleton to do 2 more programs and to get 2 more associate degrees, hopefully by fall of 25.
Yeah, it's such a shame, Delaney, that you're such an underachiever. I mean, really, you need to apply yourself. Unbelievable. I'm over here going, wow, am I, you know, geez, I need to start doing some stuff here. No, very impressive.
You know, I try. I get told that quite a bit, so...
Yeah, I mean, just when you started out the interview and you were talking about, you know, working on your own cars, I was just going to say at that point, wow, this is great. She's just a go-getter. Like, she loves her parents, but I can do this. I got this. I can do this myself.
Yeah.
Now the whole story is starting. Now all the dots are connecting, right? You're just a very self-motivated person. That's very inspiring that you do that. So, yeah, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
That's great. So, okay. But, all right, now we're ready for Chili Bowl stories.
I don't even think we ran in a heat race together.
You did say in Justin's interview that you raced him in heat races in B-Mod, so we had to have been on the track together.
I'm sure we have, yeah.
So where would you like me to start? I can start with the first Chili Bowl, the second, or the third?
Put them all together.
Yeah.
All right.
We get paid by the hour, Delaney, so it's fine.
Yeah, we're not going
fantastic.
anywhere.
Well, how about let's start with what I consider the funniest. Me passing out on the driver's stand in the middle of the main right before I won.
Okay, let's go there. How does
Let's
this
start
work?
with
First
that
of all,
one.
were you okay? Let's just set that
Yes.
ground. You were okay. All right, now we're ready for the story.
So a little backstory about me. I grew up with some medical issues. I had a seizure disorder when I was younger, and now I have something called POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome. It's a fairly rare but being more recognized medical disorder. It's been kind of a struggle to get some medical help, but I manage my symptoms and work through it, and I can be the overachiever that I am without letting it stop me or ending any of my hobbies or anything like that. But once in a great while, it likes to sneak up on me, like it did the first year at the Chili Bowl. I had just kind of a bad week overall. Couldn't get my car to handle. It was just, I was really bummed because, you know, it's my first year racing at the Chili Bowl, my second year racing overall, and I was already really intimidated about going and being the worst person there. And I was having a bad week, and Will and my dad were standing underneath me, and they're like, you know what, give it your all. This is your last race. After this, tomorrow, we're going home because, Friday we raced the lower mains. I was like the last main. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm going to race the best race I can race. And if I put it all on the track, that's the best thing that I can say. And when I go home, I can still be proud of how I did.
Absolutely.
I am leading the race about 90% of the race. It was a fantastic race, the best race I've ever raced. So Scotty's up there. This is my first year at the Chili Bowl.
Screaming
I'm
your name.
finally doing well. He's screaming. He's like, she's gonna take it for the win. He's up there just doing his fantastic job that he does. And 30 seconds into the race, I was doing so well already that I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna pass out. This is gonna be bad. I almost pulled off 30 seconds in because I could feel it already. And I was like, nope, this is your race. You are here to win this race. You are going to stay through it. You're going to stay awake. You're going to be fine. This is going to be fine. Well, my dad was standing underneath me, and he looked up because, the Chili Bowl, you got your pit crew underneath you, and he saw my face was completely ghost white. I had no color in my lips, no nothing. And he's like, ooh, oh boy. So he comes up on the driver's stand. I didn't even know he was behind me. I was that laser focused into the race and trying to block out Scotty. And I could see more and more people coming up to the side of the thing because, Scotty's up there yelling.
Yeah.
And I was heading for the final lap into turn 4. And at the time, the track had like a little lip and a berm. And I hit the berm. And that's when my lights just went because my brain panicked, and I held on to the trigger and still finished third. So just so close for that bump, but I finished third. And as my car was spinning, my mom looked up to see where I was at because my car just went out of control and everybody was looking for me, and I just wasn't in the driver's stand anymore because I was on the ground with my dad. I think it's funny that I passed out. The next year we put Sleepy on my car. But the really amazing thing about me passing out at the Chili Bowl was the amount of people that sprung into action the second my dad said I passed out. My med bag was in our truck outside, so Murphy booked it to the truck to run and grab my meds. It was like a conveyor belt of people chucking my meds because, medical issue. I've got a baggie full of my emergency medication.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten my medication in me that quickly. It was amazing. And I am so thankful for everybody that was there to be able to take care of me the way that they did and understand hey, and that it was just some of the best things in the world that happened that day. Cause it was like, I ran a hell of a good race. I was super proud of that.
Yeah.
I get a funny story to tell. And, it solidified that bond that I thought I had with everybody there. It was like, okay, these are my family now. These aren't just some guys that I head to a track every year with and hang out.
Yeah, it's so true. Last year was my first time there and went with some very good friends. But I made so many great friendships. Just like you, there are people you come away from Chili Bowl and you're like, this is family now, and and that's so cool. Kudos to your dad for recognizing that, right? So he could be there, because as I'm sure the rest of the drivers were just ultra focused on their race. Sucks that happened, but you still finished third. Not bad,
right? The guy that won he walks up to me after. I was sitting back at our tent, just like breathing and drinking water as much as I could. He walked up and he's like, I feel bad that I took that win from you. He's like, I feel like I shouldn't have won that. And I'm like, no, fair and square. You won that. That's on me, bro. You're good. I appreciate you, but congrats. I don't think that year I would have even been able to bump. I would have probably forfeited my bump because of everything. So, and we all joke about that. And I immediately was like, thank God I didn't bump because I couldn't do that again.
Well, you came back though. You came back strong. That was year one.
Yeah, the second year. So that was year one, and I was only racing one class. And then the second year, I came back, and like I said earlier, screw it, let's race B-Mod. Let's add one more car to the list. Let's make myself a little busier.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, right? But no, it's a great time. And like I said, it's just a family atmosphere. Everybody's so competitive. You think, oh my God, it's the Chili Bowl. It's the world championship of dirt oval. And it's so stressful and it's crazy. It's the second year we were there. we were actually calling for Matt, long days, everybody wants to get out, and Matt was booking it out of the building. We're like, Matt, me and my mom are trying to call him in. He completely ignores us. Not on his fault. It's loud in there. Probably couldn't hear us. He was on a mission. But my favorite customer driver, I will say this, Eddie Hill, was walking by, and he turns and he's like, me? And we're like, no, but you can come say hi anyways. And at the time, like for me, still third year racing, I'm like, oh my God, customers, you can't talk to those guys. Like they're scary. It's owned by Tony Stewart. Like,
yeah.
And not knowing like that they're people too, I guess. Because it is a little intimidating, a little scary coming in and seeing that level of racers there. Mm-hmm. And Eddie comes by and he's asking about my racing, asking how I'm doing. He's like, you're the one that passed out last year. I'm like, yeah, guilty.
That's me.
And he's like, well, next time you're up for racing, come get me. I want to watch. I was like, okay. So the next time I went up to race, it was like, hey, Eddie, I'm going up to race if you would like to watch. Sir, thank you.
Yeah.
And then he started coming up to watch, and I noticed a couple other guys came up to watch with him, and we became pretty good friends. And this past year, the third year, I was like, hey, Eddie, this thing isn't working on my car. Can you help me with this real quick? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. I got you, kiddo. And he ended up coming and pitting with me quite a bit this last year. And it's just, it's crazy how much, like just some random people that you're shouting at can become really good friends and really great supports and really great mentors. I was actually messaging Eddie today because I'm thinking about getting a sprint car. That's my 5th car that I'm thinking about getting. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, let's talk.
Let's talk about that.
What kind of car are you going to get? What are you going to do?
I'm going to go with a Custom Works. Okay. I'm thinking an Outlaw 5.
Right.
Eddie and I are going to talk more about it, and we're going to figure it out. It's very early stages. I'm thinking maybe March time period to get it, right around the dual. So that way Eddie can maybe nudge him into helping me with the setup
a little help
while he's up here. And maybe race, because they race them up at Attitude, don't they? Yep. So maybe a little bit of racing it at Attitude, and cross my fingers maybe for the Chili Bowl next year. But we'll see.
Wait, so you're going to be at trackside for the Oval Nats?
Yep.
Shit. David, I'm going to get my butt kicked again.
Yeah, just stay home, right?
Yep.
Damn it.
I am racing short course street stock and B-Mod.
Both classes I'm going to get waxed in. Son of a gun.
I'm sorry. If it makes you feel any better, I haven't decided which B-Mod to race.
No, just go out and kick my butt anyways. But
All
I will
right,
tell you this. Look out, though, because my slash is hooked up. Like, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I'm looking forward to getting my butt kicked again. Is your dad going to race too?
He is. He is racing street stock and I think maybe sprint car.
Okay. So he'll only kick my butt in one class then.
Okay.
I'll get my butt kicked by the Hohns in street stock. So
if we talk standout performances at the Chili Bowl, how about Hunter? Did you see Hunter racing at all?
He's so awesome. I love that kid. I purposely stood next to him during the video because I knew that he'd be just as hyped with me, like when the drone goes around the track when we do that. And we were both like giving it the chakra, like just having a blast. He's such an amazing kid.
Just a great inspiration, right? Like their whole thing is living with no limits. And that's exactly it. Exactly it.
Hey, he's one of our No Limits drivers, so we really appreciate him from the No Limits side of things too. And as a fellow number 9, because he races number 9.
Yeah, he does.
And we love him. We love his dad. His whole family is great people.
Yeah, Carries are awesome people.
Yeah,
for sure. What if you ever have you ever thought about or wanted the opportunity in a full size racing car? It's
the devil on my shoulder right now. The other side is my mom going, you don't have a shop, it's too dangerous, it's this, it's that. Part of the reason why my family got into racing RC cars was because my family originally raced big cars. So my grandpa raced, my dad raced, my uncle raced, and my mom was actually pregnant with me when my dad sold his modified because my uncle, one night while he was racing, another racer got in a bad accident and passed away on the track. And my mom said, that's it. It's too scary. We've got another baby on the way. Little did she know that she was pregnant with a child that would be the one that would want to be the racer. But it's really been kind of RC car racing is a hell of a lot safer sport to get the adrenaline going rather than doing the crawling in a big car every week. There is this slight thought of, I could do it. I could do it.
Let's talk. You know, the Delaney driver. That's you. First off, and you've done a great job promoting yourself on social media, and that's led you to some pretty awesome sponsorships. By some cool manufacturers. So let's talk a little bit about that. Who do you got helping you out?
My biggest sponsor is Boca. I love being part of the Boca team, getting to chat with Taylor, getting to meet everybody. We've picked up a lot more team drivers this past year, and they're just a cool company to work with. They're always commenting, liking, posting, and sharing my stuff on social media, and that makes me feel great. Other than Boca, I love Shark. Obviously, we know Paul.
Doesn't love Shark bodies? Right? Come on.
Right now on my modifieds, I'm running the Rocksteady. I've got the 2020 and the 2021 daggers on my B mods. They're great cars. They run great. Other than that, am I missing one? Oh yeah, No Limits.
Don't forget about that.
Yeah,
That's
don't
you.
forget that.
Yeah.
Do you just write the check to yourself, or how does that work?
No. So No Limits, we don't have a big team driver. It's me, my dad, and Baxter's who we have as our team drivers for No Limits right now. But we're working on what we want that to look like as far as sponsorships and stuff. And, need to look fast, go fast,
Obviously, that's all I'm good at. Yeah.
Right?
I look fast and go slow, but
I'm just there to look good on the track,
That's right. No, you can wheel a car too. There's no doubt about it. I was marshaling at Chili Bowl, and you definitely got your stuff down. You got a good race program. You put forth the effort, you put the work in, and I think that's the biggest thing. And I didn't see you out there taking anybody out or driving like a goon,
I
like
really
some
try.
people do. Yeah, it's
if I ever take anybody out, it's not on purpose. I swear to you on that, it is not on purpose. 100% driver error.
Yeah, no, and it happens to everyone. But you race with etiquette, and that's super cool. That was one thing I noticed about you. That and your cars did look good going around the track. So
thanks. Did you notice my wrap switch up like midweek?
Yeah. Well, you guys, it seemed like you guys were printing them there, and just like, I mean, every time Delaney's going out with like this like new wrap or new car, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
I raced, so it's actually the same body. I just pulled the wrap off of it and put a new one on. So because I graduated in December, a lot of the Chili Bowl prep on my end for my personal cars kind of got pushed back a little bit just because graduation and being a big girl got put before making my cars look pretty. So it took me until about midweek before I redid my body, and it actually kind of messed up my B-mod a little bit because I put it back together exactly the same, but for some reason it was weird. Something was up.
So you took all those little screws out of that Rocksteady body? Oh, my fingers just hurt every time I put one together or take it apart. It's like, it's a pain in the butt.
But they look so cool. I put on this body, I put the like metal screws on it, so it like looks like metal rivets on a real car. Like that's one thing that No Limits, me and my dad really pride ourselves on and work towards is making the cars look as realistic as possible with the contingency sponsors, with the rivets going across the sides of the body panels. We want the cars to look and feel as real as possible, being a scaled down version of each car.
Yeah, you guys do a great job. And there were some really cool cars that you had on display too in your booth. It was really good looking. So no, I commend you for doing what you do. I mean, honestly, you're putting all this stuff together. You're wrenching on these cars yourself. You're promoting yourself. Obviously, you got a full-time gig too. You got to pay for all this stuff, right? Yeah, and growing a business, which is awesome. And the fact that you guys are going to be opening up a storefront hopefully here soon. That's awesome. And congratulations on making those steps to get there. And I just hope you run more at Attitude this summer so you can wax me. But I'm getting better. I'm going to get out of the G main. I made a B main last year, and I thought I was the king.
Hey, I'm finally making A mains at Oshkosh. So
yeah, and you run with some stiff competition up there.
Yeah, Tony Van Ark, I will say, Tony, I'm sorry, Matt, Tony is probably one of my favorite track dads. He really took me underneath his wing when my dad wasn't there this year at Oshkosh. And he is just an awesome driver. I watch him every week and I'm like, how does he do that? How? That's not fair.
Right.
But, every week I get a little bit better. This is 2 weeks in a row where I've made the A main. And to me, I'm running up to my dad going, Dad, did you see I made the A main? I made the A main. He's like, yeah, good job. I'm like, no, you don't get it. It's
a big deal.
That's I made the A main and I didn't have to fight for the bump.
Right.
And he's like, oh, good job. 2 weeks ago I beat him. And then this past week, so my dad always says, in the heats, race yourself. Yep. You are racing for the cleanest laps. Race yourself. In the main, go ahead and race.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't want to fight for that spot, or you don't want to give up that spot. And I was racing him, and I didn't realize. So, according to the score and the counter that was reading off, he was the person in front of me. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't going to let him by me. And he door dinged me on purpose. There's a YouTube video of it if you want the link to it.
Please. Yes. Send it to me.
I can send it to you. But he completely walled me and shoved me up the track and completely just pushed me out of the way. And he's like, dude, you were 3 laps down. Why were you racing me like that? I'm like, because you told me never to give anybody the spot.
Careful what you
He's like,
careful
yeah,
what
but
you
not
mentor.
when it's me. I'm like,
how uncomfortable of a ride home was that then? Did you guys even talk on the way home?
Oh, we always talk on the way home. That's honestly my favorite part of racing is getting to ride home after the races and debrief about the race. And now, especially now that I can be like, my mod, it's driving off. I need a little bit more pushback from my right rear. And he's like, oh, we can do this to change it. We can do this. Oh, let's like this week on the way home, we're like, oh, we can put more power to that. You're only coming off the track and you're only 91 degrees in your motor. Like, let's go up.
Let's gear up. Let's go.
Yeah, let's gear up. We're going to gear up 3 degrees on my slash mod this week. And it's so much fun getting to talk about it. And this past week we had Paul on the phone with us. So we were all laughing and we're like, really, you did that? And that's where we discussed the whole, you're not supposed to race me. No, I am supposed to race you. It was just, we have a blast with it. And at the end of the day, we're racing toy cars.
So, Delaney, we knew this was going to be a great episode. We learned way more than we thought. I mean, we knew that you were ambitious. We knew that you have a great passion for the sport, but to find out all these other things that you're involved with, just really impressive. Really impressive.
Thank you.
Are there any websites or, where people are going to want to know more about you after this? So where can they find out about you? Where can they reach out?
My biggest page right now is on Facebook. If you type in Laney Driver, Laney, and then driver with an R instead of an E, just like my hoodie. You can find me on there. I post weekly updates on my races, and if I don't race that week, I try to make some sort of post letting you guys know when the next time I'll be racing, what I'm up to, what I'm doing in school, just basic life updates on there too.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. And you know what? We look forward to having you on here again soon.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the RC Underground Radio Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your fellow racers about the show. Tune in again next week for more RC content.